What is up with it? Today we are back and this is going to be a high ranked ladder gameplay. Today it's going to be Bonnie versus Blue Purple. And I know what you're thinking. Blue Purple top of ladder? That's insane. No way. No way without Mom. No way without Kata. I'm actually fairly certain that currently the #1 ranked overall player on the ladder actually is playing Blue Purple. So I know that everyone thinks the deck is dead. There's a small number of people who actually believe otherwise. And they've been seeing some success, at least on ladder. So we'll see exactly how true that is. But we have an opening hand of Carrot, Kid, Cavendish, Tashigi, and Hody Jones. We are going second, but I do think that Cavendish, Tashigi is pretty good. You don't want to let them remove your whole board over and over again, so having a Tashigi is pretty nice. The Carrot and Kig, not that great, but Hody always going to be great as well. But going to go ahead and pass on the 2 Dawn turn. Opponent's going to go ahead and swing for 6, which we will take. And at this point, we're planning on swinging 8, but we draw the Hawkins. Deciding that having this potential Dawn throughout the rest of the game is worth omitting the swing. Honestly, I'm not sure how true that is. Maybe it's correct to just swing 8 this turn, honestly. Maybe it's a little different if it's a Eroge, but we do have to consider that a lot of the time we are just donating this to a God Thread. And here we should definitely be countering with the Carrot. So I think definitely some mistakes I'm making throughout this game already. Gonna go ahead and swing 5 at the Zorajuro. Gonna go ahead and Cavendish and of course Tashigi. Yeah, if I remember correctly, this is not one of the better games I played. I think I actually make several mistakes in this game. But gonna go ahead and Usahachi and just swing over the Cavendish. Seems reasonable. This is really where we wish we had that Bonney in hand. If we had that Bonney, we could go like a Cavendish Bonney play. That could be pretty nice. But just playing this this Mihawk and swinging 8 is also pretty decent. Or we could play the second Tashigi. I don't think I'm a huge fan of this, honestly. Kind of run us out of cards because we already donated the Hawkins. And now we're playing 2 Tashigis just to make sure that our board like genuinely never gets cleared. Which is true. And then here we're taking the free block, which does get punished by the Rush Luffy. So now we've just donated a bunch of cards throughout this game. And very lucky for us that it was not a Sanji into the Luffy. And here we can swing 7. Doing that play that we could have potentially done last turn instead. Though developing the Mihawk was very good as well, don't get me wrong. We're so starved here that I think just getting rid of the Kid makes a lot of sense. And we can go ahead and restand the Dawn with this Bonney. This Bonney being a really great card. Noel yesterday actually winning Zulu's Grand Bounty with only 2 of the Bonney in the deck list, which I personally think is a little odd. I think that card is pretty good. Not wanting to take any free chip damage, we can go ahead and 2K, and our opponent has an extremely weak turn of just a Sanji. We can go ahead and go 4 at 3, just clear up this threat. And maybe sometimes he tries to like free block there with a Sanji. And here we could just go 888. Seems pretty reasonable to me. Just counting the Dawn. 3 8s. Pretty good into this blue-purple deck, I believe. And gonna go ahead and giant the first one. I don't remember if they top or bottomed their deck earlier, but maybe they they didn't really have the requisite counter they needed, but they knew it was on top of their deck that they draw into. Not sure, but able to get 2 cards out of hand this turn and deal a damage and establish a Mihawk. Feels like a pretty decent turn. We have to imagine a lot of the times we're going to lose this Cavendish to a 10k swing, but it is what it is. And just going to go ahead and play a Nami, and I imagine we're going to swing some decent size number, maybe even a 10, but maybe we're a little worried about the Hody Jones, so maybe we only go... Okay, if we're leaving up 3, then we're really worried about Hody. We did bottom deck, and we did take a damage last turn, so that could mean that we don't have infinite counter. We also pitched a... Okay, so it is an 8. We did also pitch a Gear 2 last turn off of the Giant. So we might have just like a ton of events in hand. I don't think I mind a pretty similar turn to last turn where we just go 888 Hawk, Mihawk, pass. I think I could definitely be down for that. We will likely be donating the Mihawk again, but at least chipping away at something. Chipping away either at the events, maybe at life, maybe getting a few cards out of hand, maybe we get the block. And at this point, you know, we're not in the best spot, admittedly. Like, we're very starved on cards, and the blue-purple is going to continue finding infinite cards, basically, drawing 2 every turn, having access to things like Nami, and they have the bigger body on board this 10k. If this was a 9 plus a 10, we just lost the game already. Like, the game was already over. So very fortunate for us that our opponent has not had a lot of strong turns, despite the fact that we have kind of donated a few cards to them. Which, when you donate a few cards in a strategy like Bonney, it's very hard to come back from that. So opponent's going to go ahead and swing 10. We're going to have to let that go. Here, not exactly sure why they even swung this 6. Seems like a bit of a mistake to me. Not really sure what that did for them. But bottom decking... Excuse me, off of the Dofi. And we actually miss off this Bonnie Searcher. Really devastating. Would have liked to have seen that Shanks. Any of the last 10 turns would have been nice. And I think here we're probably just going to want to swing 7. Opponent has Nami. We would expect him to play Nami a lot of the time here. Gonna swing 10 at life. We're gonna be forced to take that, of course. Opponent's gonna go 8 at life. At this point, the only thing we could really be scared of if we counter here is if they play the Rush Luffy, but they'd be tapping out, which just seems like a really bad idea. Here, I've never had 2 Tashigis on board at the same time, so resting both. Not understanding the prompt. Not exactly sure why they even decided to God Thread. I feel like they definitely could have just played Nami. Playing this God Thread didn't do a whole lot for them, but we do get a very, very fortunate Dofi top deck. And we can go ahead and go 6 at 4 and then freeze one of these characters. And then we should go 8 at life next action, but we kind of jumped the gun on this Dofi. I'm going to go ahead and swing 8. Have to imagine this takes another event. So our opponent definitely has seen a lot of events this game, to be fair. They've also seen their entire deck. I think these Tashigis must have really given him issues, because it's really hard for me to imagine that he hasn't seen tech cards like Gravity Blade, Mihawk, Red Rock, whatever. But gonna go ahead and bottom deck with this Nami. And then actually gonna play out this Bonclay, which 1-Don 1 blocker plays very poorly into one specific card in the game. I think the opponent actually would have been significantly better off if they had just left 5-Don standing. But we can go ahead and go 6, 8, 8, 8, 10. And hopefully we get there. You know, the opponent does have infinite cards in hand. They have cycled infinitely with Giant. But at this point, it's really our only play. And just taking a moment to think, is there ever any advantage in splitting with the Tashigi? But there's definitely not. 6/6 only takes 2 1Ks when an 8 takes 2 1, and there we get the win. Opponent definitely throwing by playing this Bonclay. If you look at it, even ignoring the fact that they have a counter event in their hand, if they don't play this Bonclay, they can get out of this 8. And that's ignoring the fact that I'm probably not even allowed to go for it if they just leave, 5-Don up, or maybe they leave 3-Don up and they swing 8 with their leader last turn. So definitely an interesting game. I definitely misplayed on the Bonney side a fair bit, I think, in the early turns. And I think the UP misplayed a little bit in the later turns, along with he got a little unlucky never getting to Sanji combo. But let me know, what do you guys think of Blue Purple? Do you think that it is still a deck that has some merit in the current metagame? I mean, as I said, I think the number one rated player currently has still been playing Blue Purple. Sanji Mihawk is just insane into almost every deck that's ever been printed, so maybe there's still something there, especially as its hardest counter, and Betty has started to shift out of favor. I don't know. Let me know. Appreciate you all so much for watching, and thank you everyone so much who supports me on Metafy. If you would like to help support me and support this channel, please check out the link in the description, and have a great rest of your day.